Gig Harbor Sportsman's Club Rifle Pistol Range Safety Rules. As a firearms owner and user, you are responsible for your actions and the operation of your firearm. All shooters must be capable of independent, proper, and safe operation of their firearm. Before you enter the range, everyone must wear eye and ear protection before entering the range and at all times when the range is hot. That is, whenever there are no flashing red lights. You may not operate a firearm or enter the range if you have consumed or are under the influence of alcohol. Never use alcohol or drugs before or while shooting. The use of any tobacco product, as well as e-cigarettes, is prohibited on the range. Please use the Gig Harbor Sportsman's Club designated smoking areas. Do not bring uncased or unholstered firearms into or out of the range when the red lights are flashing. That would be during a ceasefire. Completion of a range orientation and safety briefing is required for all shooters, except shooters under 18 and guests of members may be supervised by an adult club member who has completed orientation. Supervised requires being responsible for and within physical contact distance while the guest or youth is shooting. When you enter the range, all range users are required to sign in. Shooters under 18 must be signed in by the supervising adult. When you sign in, you are acknowledging that you understand and will follow all range rules, as well as the direction of the range officers. Firearms brought into the range, uncased or unholstered, must be unloaded with their actions locked open. Rifles and shotguns may not be slung on the shoulder and must be pointed straight up. Handguns must be pointed straight up or straight down. Firearms may only be cased and uncased on the shooting bench. They must be pointed straight down range while on the firing line. If long guns are placed on a storage rack, they must be unloaded with actions open or cased when not in use. Break action or levered firearms shall be unloaded by the shooter. Any firearm not in the hands of the shooter must be unloaded and have the action or loading gate locked open. The only exception to this is for handguns lawfully carried and holstered on one's person. Holstered firearms may only be removed from the holster on the firing line when the range is hot. The firearm must be pointed downrange at all times when removing the firearm. Drawing from the holster, hip shooting, or any other form of unaimed shooting is prohibited. Rapid fire is considered shooting at a rate of 1 shot per second or faster. Shooting at this speed can be done if the shooter is proficient and by the discretion of the range officers on duty. Failing to keep impacts on the orange circle demonstrates the shooter is firing beyond their capabilities. The range officer may ask you to bring targets closer, slow down, or not to shoot rapid fire at all that day. Mount only 1 paper target per frame unless otherwise approved by the range officer on duty. You may only use 1 shooting station at a time, rifle or pistol. If there is a waiting list, you may be limited to 1 hour of shooting time. As you begin shooting, magazine load limits for semi-automatic rifles and pistols are 5 rounds for center fire, 10 rounds for rim fire. Always keep your finger off the trigger until you have acquired the target. Handgunners must acquire their target by coming up from the low gun position. The barrel should never be above horizontal, level with the ground. Rifle shooters must be seated at the bench while shooting. Standing while shooting is not allowed. The rifle must be rested on the bench using bags, sled, elbows, etc. All shots must impact the target. Consistent misses due to rapid fire or lack of experience may necessitate moving the target closer, slowing the rate of fire, or getting instruction. The range officer will exercise discretion in such manners. Any damage caused deliberately or by carelessness or negligence will result in expulsion from the range and a bill for the damages. A ceasefire will be initiated by a ringing bell and an announcement. Please listen to the announcement. Range officers will then check the firing line for safety. After their safety check, they will give permission to proceed downrange to check and change targets. During a ceasefire, that is when the red lights are flashing, you may not handle any firearms, ammunition, or magazines, and must not cross the yellow lines with any part of your body, nor come near the bench from either side. We will be taking a break in about 2 minutes. Anyone wishing to leave the range at that time should unload, make safe, and pack up their firearms, as there'll be no handling of firearms during the break. This is your 2-minute warning. Ceasefire, ceasefire, unload, bench, and show clear all firearms. When you are done, please step back from the firing line as far as you can and remain behind the firing line throughout the ceasefire. There will be no handling of firearms, ammunition, or magazines during the ceasefire. We will now check the firing line for safety. You may now go downrange.
Anyone downrange? Is there anyone downrange? All clear downrange. I hear protection in place for everybody, please. Range is ready. You may now approach the fire line. Commence firing.
Additional information. Firearms that cannot be cleared and made safe should, with the owner's consent, remain at the range until made safe, even if it necessitates outside help. Fully automatic firearms are prohibited at the Gig Harbor Sportsman's Club. 12-gauge, 20-gauge shotguns are allowed but are restricted to shooting slugs at the 25-yard rifle targets. Air gun and .22 caliber rifles may be used on the rifle or pistol side at the discretion of the range officer. Prohibited ammunition includes any shotgun shells loaded with multiple projectiles shot, any other multiple projectile rounds such as snake shots or glazer, 50 Browning machine gun BMG, 416 Barrett, tracers, and armor piercing. Shotgun ammunition, even if only slugs, may not be loaded into anything other than a conventional shotgun, that is, not into a handgun chambered for them. There are additional range rules for black powder firearms. Ask the range officer for a copy. While shooting, if you experienced any misfired rounds, referred to as duds, they should be deposited in the dud bucket not the trash or the brass cans. While shooting, you may experience a squib discharge. That is a noticeable reduced sound and recoil during firing. You may have a bullet lodged in your barrel that needs to be checked. Please stop shooting, unload, and check that the barrel is clear before continuing. If the barrel is obstructed, it must be cleared before continuing shooting. Ask a range officer if you need help. Thank you for your cooperation. The Gig Harbor Sportsman's Club range officers appreciate your help.